I've already had that conversation. So now you're gonna have to go through it. You're gonna have to go through it and get through it. Ain't nothing me and mama or nobody else gonna be able to say about it.
I don't want y'all to check the car.
I can't hear you.
I don't want y'all to search the car.
Well, I understand that, but if I smell weed, that's probable cause to search the vehicle.
You're not gonna find nothing. You're gonna find my gun.
New footage of King Harris behind bars just shook the internet, and the streets are going wild. The son of T.I. and Tiny has always acted like he's built for that hard life. But this new viral jail clip got people questioning everything. Is King really about that action, or has he just been fronting for the cameras? Let's dive into what really went down behind those bars, and how the prince of hip-hop royalty ended up in cuffs. See, King Harris ain't just another kid trying to look tough. He's the son of Clifford T.I. Harris, the self-proclaimed king of the South, and Tameka Tiny Harris, a music icon in her own right. This boy was born into money, power, and connections most folks couldn't even imagine. But that's the problem. When you've had it all handed to you, proving you're real can become your biggest downfall. Word on the block is King's been desperate to prove he's not just some rich kid riding his parents' fame. He's been trying to show he's built from the streets. But the streets don't play fair. And everything came crashing down on October 14th, 2024, when Dunwoody police snatched him up during what should have been a routine traffic stop. Except this wasn't no regular pullover moment. It blew up fast and ugly. King was cruising out of a Chevron in his flashy BMW, probably feeling untouchable, when he swerved across double yellow lines and almost collided with a police cruiser. Big mistake. Anyone who knows the game knows you never move reckless right in front of the boys in blue. But in that instant, King's wild ride turned into a full-blown reality check, and the world's been watching every second since.
I just made this offer to my boy Tootie. I'm gonna let the world know this offer. I told my dog all he gotta do is come to the gym with me, and I'm gonna get him set up with some veneers on me.
But King's so-called street education had some serious gaps, and it showed fast. The officer flips on the lights and pulls him over for that reckless move, but what happens next? Man, it goes from bad to straight up wild. As soon as the cop steps up to the ride, that loud smell is creeping heavy out the window, and then boom! The officer spots a strap sitting right on King's hip like it's part of the outfit. We're talking a loaded 9mm, just chilling there in plain sight like it's no big deal. Anybody who's been around real street situations knows that's rookie mistake number one. Never make it that easy for the law to see your business, but then things flip even harder. When the cop runs King's name, boom, an active bench warrant pops up from Pickens County. Turns out he skipped court over a 2022 case where he got caught for speeding, driving on a suspended license, and a DUI. That's 3 strikes stacked before he even hit 20. And when the body cam footage from that earlier bust leaked online months later, fans saw a totally different King Harris. Gone was the chest-out, tough-talking kid flexing on Instagram. What they saw instead was a confused and nervous young dude who looked lost in the chaos. Listen to how wild that is. The same King who was yelling online about how he'd pull up on anybody was suddenly quiet, respectful, and trying to play it cool when the real heat showed up.
This is my warrant for.
So your warrant is for a failure to appear? Dispatch is going to call in and make sure it's still valid.
Failure to appear where? I didn't have no court dates.
It's for a DUI out of Pickens County.
Out of Pickens County?
32. Could you go ahead and confirm that warrant?
The only DUI, I had a suspicion of a DUI a long time ago, and it was dismissed, so I don't know what they could be talking about.
The switch-up was crazy. When real consequences hit, all that internet bravado disappeared. King wasn't angry or rebellious. He looked more like someone realizing too late that this wasn't a game. He didn't even know which counties had open cases waiting on him, fumbling over his own story like he couldn't keep track. That's not street smart. That's sloppy. That's that suburban confusion King swore he'd outgrown. He even tried telling the officer his 2022 DUI got dismissed, but anyone who really knows the system could see it. King wasn't built for this life. He was just trying to survive the mess he made. See, that's the thing about the system. It don't forget. Just because you think your warrants should disappear doesn't mean they do. When the cops tore through King's flashy BMW, they found exactly what you'd expect from someone trying way too hard to look street. King, already sweating bullets, starts blurting out that there are multiple firearms in the car, including an AR-15 style rifle and a few other pieces that supposedly belong to his passengers. But here's the crazy contradiction. If you really out here moving weight or handling business, you don't volunteer info to the cops. That's Hood 101. You stay quiet, you stay cool, you let your lawyer talk. But King, he's panicking, begging them not to search, while at the same time telling them exactly what's inside. That ain't gangster, that's nervous, spoiled energy from a kid who's used to being saved. And just like that, things turn from reckless to dangerous. Because King wasn't just some dude with a gun, he already had a juvenile felony conviction on his record. That made everything 10 times worse. Now, it wasn't just a traffic stop. It was a potential federal case for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. A charge that can carry serious time. No favors, no quick bail, just cold reality staring him down. During the arrest, you can literally see the frustration boiling over on his face as it starts to click. This isn't just another night out. This is life-changing. He keeps pressing the officers, snapping questions, trying to figure out what they're even looking for, his tone rising while they keep digging through his ride. And that tough guy mask he flexes online, it starts cracking right there on camera. The world watching the King realize his crown don't protect him from real-life consequences. That tough image King built online started crumbling fast. Once the real pressure hit, you could see it clear as day. This was a young dude who wasn't ready for the smoke that came with his choices. From there, King got hauled off to DeKalb County Jail, only to be extradited to Pickens County the very next morning. And since the courts were closed for Columbus Day, he couldn't even post bond right away, stuck in a cold cell with nothing but his thoughts. That's when reality had to hit him like a brick. No Instagram Live, no flashy chains, no wild rants. None of that could save him now. The same internet that hyped him up couldn't lift a finger to get him out. Even though the warrant was eventually recalled and he finally made bond, the damage was already done. His rap sheet was out for the world to see. And it wasn't filled with street stripes or big-time charges. Nah, it was failure to appear warrants and petty traffic violations. That's not gangster. That's sloppy. Real ones from the street started clowning the situation hard. They saw through it immediately, calling him out for chasing an image instead of owning his reality. And to make it sting even more,
King Harris?
Ooh, you standing on business.
What we talking about, man? Come on, man.
Don't play with people, kids now.
He
Don't
talking
play
about,
with
hey,
King.
come on, man. What, come on, bro.
King said
You talking about King
the term standing on
T.I.P.
business.
son?
Yes, King.
he said he pulled all this drama exploded right after his baby shower. He was supposed to be stepping into fatherhood, getting ready to welcome his first child with Jania Epps, but instead he was behind bars acting like he had something to prove. His girl had to sit back and watch her man spiral while the world laughed, and social media, oh, they showed no mercy at all. The comments were savage. People saying things like, he wanna be a thug so bad, and Tip gonna let him sit in there too. The internet stays undefeated when it comes to exposing fake tough talkers, and this time, King was the perfect target. DJ Academics basically said out loud what everyone else had been thinking. King was chasing street credibility so hard it looked ridiculous. People were roasting him online, turning his weak traffic charges into punchlines just to make them sound tougher. That hit hard because it stripped away the whole illusion, exposing how wild and unnecessary this act really was. Why would someone born into money, fame, and privilege want to live like he's trapped in the trenches? Folks out here are fighting tooth and nail just to escape that kind of struggle. And King's out here trying to pretend he lives it. It's not rebellion anymore, it's confusion. This whole saga showed just how disconnected King really was from what the streets actually mean. But the chaos didn't just spotlight King. It also cracked open that tense father-son dynamic between him and T.I. For months, T.I. had been out here talking tough, saying things like he'd cut King off financially and let him learn the hard way. But once his son ended up really behind bars, all that tough love talk probably hit different. You could tell the dad in him had to be battling with the boss in him. Watching your son fall like that hits deeper than pride. Still, even with all of T.I.'s influence and connections, there were limits. This wasn't a headline he could buy his way out of or a PR problem he could clean up overnight. King had to face the music for real, just like anybody else would. And when that body cam footage dropped in August 2025, it set the internet on fire all over again. The video didn't show some fearless street-bred boss. It showed a kid out of his depth, realizing way too late that street dreams come with real consequences. That body cam footage didn't show a street soldier. It showed a polite, confused kid, completely lost and out of his depth. Nothing like the image he built online. And here's the kicker. That 2024 arrest wasn't even the end of it, just the start of something way bigger. As 2025 rolled in, whispers started flying everywhere about heavier legal fallout. People began spreading wild rumors that King had been sentenced to 5 years in prison, even though none of that was confirmed. Pure gossip mixed with internet chaos. But at that point, the truth didn't even matter anymore. The damage was already done. King's arrest became the breaking point, where his flashy Instagram persona slammed straight into the cold wall of reality. All those posts about standing on business suddenly looked weak once real-life charges showed up at his door. The talk stopped, the filters disappeared, and the world saw the truth. This wasn't a hardened street boss. This was a scared young man trying to figure out how everything went left so fast.
What I appreciate more than anything right now is to be able to make a phone call. So when we get there, it can already be figured out.
To who? Who are you trying to make a phone call to?
I'm trying to make a phone call to my pop.
And when the footage showed King cooperating with the cops and fumbling over his own story, the internet lit up again. It proved what people were already whispering. King wasn't built for that life he was claiming. He was drowning in waters way too deep, and that moment exposed it to everyone watching. But that arrest, it was just the spark. What followed was a full-blown storm of chaos that didn't just test King, it shook his entire family to the core. The streets don't play favorites, not even for celebrity bloodlines, and King was about to learn that lesson the hard way. This wasn't just some harmless father-son argument. This was deep generational pain exploding live for millions to see. Picture it, King sitting comfy in a luxury suite at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, phone in hand, going live on Instagram, trying to prove he's tough, that he's built different, even to his own pops. The irony was heavier than Atlanta traffic, and everyone watching could feel the tension through their screens. Listen to that energy. Young King talking loud, swearing up and down he never had it easy, shouting about how he stands on business, all while streaming from one of the bougiest seats in the entire arena. The contradiction was crazy. The streets caught it instantly. How you claiming struggle while sitting in designer clothes, sipping VIP drinks under stadium lights? It didn't add up, and T.I. wasn't about to let that slide for a second. When King kept running his mouth, T.I., the self-proclaimed king of the South, had enough. Reports say he pulled up on his own son right then and there. The live stream caught the chaos, voices raised, energy spiking, and then, in a wild moment that broke the internet, T.I. snatched King into a headlock on camera. The crowd went silent while the internet exploded. That single clip showed the world that no amount of money, fame, or luxury can hide family dysfunction, not even for hip-hop royalty. That scene cracked open something raw inside the Harris family. You could see it, years of frustration, confusion, and pride all colliding in real time. King's whole struggle came spilling out. That constant identity tug-of-war between being born into wealth, yet trying to live out the pain that made his father a legend. It's like King's been trapped between two worlds, one of privilege and one of pain, trying to figure out who he really is. And just when people thought the drama couldn't get wilder, Tiny jumped in and dropped a bomb that shook the internet to its core. During that same meltdown, she revealed that King was still sucking on a pacifier until he was 12 years old. The crowd went insane. That one detail turned the whole argument into a viral circus, leaving fans stunned and the internet in pure disbelief. That one confession from Tiny completely shattered the image King had been pushing for years. All that tough talk, all that street bravado, gone in a second. The streets don't forget, and once something like that hits the internet, it becomes permanent ammo for every critic who ever doubted your credibility. But real ones knew this family tension didn't just come out of nowhere. It had been brewing for a long time. If you rewind back to 2019, the cracks were already showing. A 14-year-old King was begging his parents to homeschool him so he could chase rap full-time. That was the first real sign of the tug-of-war between his reality and the image he was chasing. And T.I., he saw it clear as day. His response was cold but honest. You ain't put in the work yet. He wasn't sugarcoating it. Tip knew his son wanted to skip the grind, to jump straight to fame without putting in that sweat equity. But King wasn't trying to hear that. He brushed off his father's wisdom, convinced he could build his own legend his own way. That's when the gap between his privileged lifestyle and his wannabe street persona started to explode out in the open. It was like watching two worlds collide, and the internet had front row seats. Soon after, the wild moments started stacking up online, each one more embarrassing than the last. The internet was ruthless, roasting King nonstop, dragging his name through the mud like it was sport. And who could ever forget the infamous aluminum foil bowl incident from January 2024? King hopped on live, proudly showing himself eating ramen out of a homemade foil bowl, saying he ran out of dishes. But the hood wasn't buying that story for a second. Folks called Cap immediately, saying it was all just another fake struggle flex. They pointed out the contradiction, how you claiming to be starving in the trenches while wearing designer fits and living in a mansion with maids and chefs. The comment section went crazy, clowning him with lines like, he wanna be from the trenches so bad, but he eating foil bowls in a mansion. The internet dragged him for days. And just like that, King's real image took another brutal hit. The internet, as always, stayed undefeated when it came to exposing fake struggle.
And Pickens County, I don't even know what Pickens County is. So I'm confused.
Where was your DUI?
Jasper
Jasper, is that a city or county?
County. Can I call my lawyer?
And King Harris was learning that lesson in real time. Just when everyone thought things couldn't get any more embarrassing, he dropped another cringeworthy moment that had fans shaking their heads. It went down at a high school basketball game where King jumped out during halftime to perform one of his tracks, trying to prove he still had the crowd. But instead of hyping the place up, the students laughed and heckled him right there in the gym. That's how shaky your image is when even high school kids are roasting you during your own set. The clip went viral within hours, and people couldn't stop replaying it. Proof that King's reputation was slipping fast. But his biggest L came next, when he tried to start a beef with comedian Funny Marco, and later Drusky, over the phrase, standing on business. Instead of building street respect, the whole situation turned into another messy moment of people asking if King was really serious or just desperate for attention. King actually went online claiming he invented the phrase standing on business and even threatened to pull up on Drusky if he didn't give him credit. The internet wasn't having it. The whole thing was beyond corny. Then, when Drusky fired back during an interview on The Breakfast Club, he didn't hold back at all, straight up laughing and saying, "Come on, man, he said he pulling up on me?" Drusky's reaction said what everyone was already thinking. King talks tough online, but goes home to comfort and luxury every night. It hit deep because it was true, and the fans could see it. Instead of letting it slide, King tried to clap back with weak personal jabs, but it only made things worse. The internet was eating him alive, and every move he made just dug the hole deeper. The once proud Prince of the South turning into a walking punchline before everyone's eyes. King tried firing back with jokes, calling Drusky built like a punch buggy, but by then, the damage was already done. The crowd wasn't laughing with him, they were laughing at him. He didn't look dangerous or confident anymore. He looked pressed, chasing clout instead of earning respect. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get more embarrassing, came another viral moment that had the whole internet clowning. King got exposed on 2 Chainz' podcast for not being able to spell the word tomorrow. Imagine being 20 years old trying to sound sharp in front of hip-hop legends and then fumbling a basic word like that. All while your dad, T.I., sits right next to you looking like he just saw his legacy take a hit. The clip went viral in seconds, and not in a good way. Fans flooded social media with memes, jokes, and pure disbelief. People started asking real questions like, what kind of education did this man even get? Piece by piece, King's image was collapsing, and these moments made it impossible to hide the truth anymore. It was clear as day. King Harris was trapped between 2 worlds. Too privileged to ever understand real struggle, yet too unfocused and immature to earn true respect from the streets. And here's the harsh reality. Respect only comes from 2 things, authenticity and results. And at that point, King didn't have either. His actions kept proving he was more about attention than discipline, more about the image than the effort. Eventually, even T.I. had enough. The proud father turned into the frustrated mentor and finally cut off King's financial support, saying it was time for his son to learn life the hard way. It was tough love, something that probably should have come way sooner. But by then, the damage was already deep. King was speeding straight toward consequences that no fame or money could erase. The sad part? King had everything he needed to win. Real talk. He had connections, money, and a father who built an empire from nothing. But instead of learning from that blueprint, he tried to rewrite it and ended up rewriting his own downfall instead. Instead of using all those resources and connections to build his own lane, King kept wasting time trying to convince the world he came from a struggle that wasn't even his. By the end of 2024, the writing was on the wall. Clear, bold, and impossible to ignore. King Harris was speeding toward a hard reality check. His fake persona was getting exposed from every angle, his family ties were snapping under the pressure, and his music career sinking instead of soaring. The streets don't salute cosplay, and King was about to learn that lesson in full force. But here's the wild twist. All that family drama, all those viral L's, that was just the warm-up. What came next was darker, heavier, and way more serious. King's obsession with proving he was street certified was about to land him in real legal danger, the kind that doesn't just disappear when the cameras stop rolling. This was the moment where all that talk about standing on business would be tested for real, not on Instagram, but in courtrooms and jail cells. For the Harris family, 2025 hit different. The streets started buzzing heavy with rumors, whispers saying King had been sentenced to 5 years in prison. Social media lit up like wildfire, and if that wasn't messy enough, even darker reports began to spread. People claiming King had been jumped inside a Georgia county jail. Now, whether those stories were facts or just wild internet chatter didn't even matter. The simple fact that people believed them showed just how far King's image had fallen. He'd become the kind of name folks tossed around in whispers, like a cautionary tale in motion. According to the talk, King had been brutally beaten by multiple inmates in what sounded like a planned ambush. And get this, word was the surveillance cameras just happened to malfunction during the entire thing. Convenient, right? If there's even a shred of truth to that, it's the nightmare scenario for someone who spent years bragging he was built for the streets. Here's the cold truth about jail politics. Your reputation don't disappear once those bars slam shut. If you've been fronting online, the real ones on the inside will test you fast. And word is, that's exactly what happened to King. The alleged attack on him was painted as a targeted hit, fueled by two things: his famous last name and that wannabe gangster image he couldn't stop pushing. Translation, behind those walls, King wasn't seen as a boss. He was seen as a target. When the smoke cleared, people said King got pressed hard because he couldn't back up all that talk he'd been preaching online. The same street energy that helped build his image turned into the very thing that broke him down. And T's reaction showed just how desperate the situation had become. Reports claimed the rap legend was pleading for his son's release, calling the jailhouse beatdown a targeted attack. That hit deep, because this was the same father who once bragged he'd use tough love to make King grow up. But now, he was allegedly begging the system to protect him. That's when everyone knew the game had flipped, and fast. But while King was allegedly fighting to survive inside, another storm was brewing outside, one that hit even closer to home. By September 2025, the streets were buzzing with wild talk about full-blown baby mama drama between King and his longtime girlfriend, Jania Epps. And this scandal wasn't light gossip. It laid bare just how messy King's personal life had gotten. The allegations were wild. Reports claimed Jania had been bleeding King's pockets dry, playing a long finesse game behind the mask of love. Whispers said she was allegedly using their unborn son as leverage to tap into the Harris family fortune, even demanding financial support from T.I. and Tiny before the baby was born. It was the perfect storm. A son behind bars, a father pleading with the system, and a girlfriend accused of running $1 million manipulation. The Harris family name, once a symbol of power and success, was now tangled in rumors, heartbreak, and betrayal. And everyone on social media had a front row seat to watch it burn. If you know anything about hood politics, then you know getting finessed by your baby mama is one of the coldest L's a man can ever take. And word on the streets was that T.I.'s reaction to the situation was brutal. Reports claimed he told Jania Epps straight up that she wasn't there for love, only for what she could squeeze out of the Harris vault. He allegedly made it crystal clear she wasn't about to finesse her way into the family's bank accounts, no matter what story she spun. But that's when the family drama exploded to a whole new level of messy. Whispers started flying that King clapped back at his own father by leaking a so-called dirty list of T.I.'s alleged affairs, a move that lit social media on fire. That rumor alone was enough to fuel talk that Tiny was inching toward divorce, and the internet went wild connecting dots. Now, whether that list was real or pure gossip didn't even matter. The fact that people actually believed King might betray his own father like that showed just how deep and toxic things between them had gotten. The tension wasn't just father versus son anymore. It was like a full-blown civil war inside one of hip-hop's most famous families. And the chaos didn't stop there. King's own relationship choices just kept stacking more dysfunction onto the pile. Earlier in 2025, he even admitted publicly to being in an open relationship with Jania, proudly claiming she didn't mind him cheating as long as it didn't start drama. That wild revelation peeled back another layer of instability, showing that the confusion in King's world wasn't just in his legal battles, but deep inside his personal life too. Then came the bomb that blew everything sky high. By September 2025, the situation turned explosive when Boozy Badazz jumped into the mix, clowning King publicly and fanning the flames of an even nastier rumor, a leaked intimate tape allegedly showing King with another man. Whether the footage was real or not didn't even matter. Boozy weaponized the gossip and used it to obliterate King's tough guy image. In just months, King went from flexing street bravado to becoming one of the most talked about names in hip-hop gossip, Not for his bars, but for his scandals. And every new headline made it harder for anyone to take him seriously again. Boozy Badazz didn't hold back. He came swinging with one of the harshest lines to ever hit the timeline. That lil boy got them tapes out. Baby mama ain't playing, whole family wildin'. You can't raise no street dude if you soft yourself. Those words weren't just jokes, they were calculated shots. Boozy wasn't just clowning King, he was firing straight at T.I., questioning the king of the South's ability to raise a real street soldier. And in hood culture, that type of disrespect hits deep. It's not just an insult, it's a double hit, damaging both the son's credibility and the father's legacy in one brutal swing. The streets heard it loud and clear. Boozy wasn't just trolling, he was trying to rewrite the pecking order of respect. While Boozy stirred up chaos online, T.I. was already drowning in crises. The scandals, the legal drama, the family fractures, everything was crashing down at once. By mid-2025, word was spreading that T.I.'s energy was breaking under the pressure. Insiders claimed he'd reached a place of pure exhaustion, reportedly admitting behind closed doors that even with all his money, fame, and street wisdom, he couldn't save his own son from self-destruction. That moment hit like a gut punch. For years, T.I. had been the image of power and control, the man who preached discipline, hustle, and loyalty. But now it seemed like he was facing something he couldn't outsmart or outspin. His transformation from a father using tough love to a man admitting defeat showed just how heavy the toll had become. It was the clearest sign yet that the Harris family saga had gone beyond saving. This wasn't just a scandal anymore, it was a collapse in motion. And just when it seemed like things couldn't spiral any lower, the money drama poured more gasoline on the fire. In July 2025, T.I. and Tiny's massive $71 million legal win against MGA Entertainment got slashed down to just $17.9 million. That cut didn't just hurt their bank accounts, it shook their whole empire. And instantly, whispers started spreading through the industry. Rumors about financial strain, legal appeals, and whether the royal couple of Atlanta was finally running out of power. Would the Harris family use that multi-million payout to bail King out of his legal mess? Or would T.I. finally stand firm and let his son face the storm alone? The question had the internet buzzing nonstop. Everyone had a theory. Some saying T.I. would fold like any worried dad, others insisting he'd stay cold and let King learn the hard way. Even the so-called lighter moments showed just how deep the dysfunction really ran. In September 2025, King popped back into headlines after offering Tootie Raw free veneers if he joined a gym challenge. Fans laughed at the ridiculousness, but beneath the humor was a sad truth. King still hadn't learned a thing. He was still chasing clout with flashy gestures, using money for attention instead of dealing with the real problems crushing him inside. That move was peak King Harris, generous on the surface, but completely tone-deaf to the bigger picture. Always trying to show off wealth instead of wisdom, always flexing instead of focusing. Every stunt made it clearer. He was still trapped in that loop of chasing validation while dodging accountability. Step back and look at King's 2025 storyline, and it reads like a perfect storm. Privilege, pride, bad decisions, and consequences that even millions couldn't erase. His fall from a protected celebrity kid to an alleged target behind bars stands as one of the wildest collapses in modern hip-hop history. But the truth is, King's saga was never just about one young man's mistakes. It became a cautionary tale, a brutal reflection of what happens when fame and ego spin out of control. His story cracked open the dark side of celebrity culture, showing how fast keeping it real can turn into keeping yourself trapped. King Harris's downfall isn't just his story. It's a mirror held up to hip-hop and society itself. His desperate chase for street credibility exposed something deep and uncomfortable. In this game, too many people value the image of struggle more than the lessons that come from it. They'll praise authenticity over growth, pain over progress, and noise over truth. The real tragedy in all this? King Harris had every resource, every connection, every tool to win, legit. He could have been a success story, not a headline. But instead, he gambled it all chasing validation in all the wrong places. The Harris family drama proved once again that money and fame don't erase dysfunction. They just put it under a brighter spotlight. King's fight to step out of T.Y.'s shadow turned into a full-blown spiral. In trying so hard to prove he was his own man, he ended up nearly destroying both his and his father's legacies. What makes it sting even more is how avoidable it all was. If King had just locked in on his music, leaned into his family's wisdom, and built something real from the ground up, He could have thrived on his own terms, but instead, his obsession with proving he was really like that dragged him deep into legal chaos, family betrayals, and non-stop public humiliation. The same streets he tried to impress turned their backs on him because the streets don't forgive and they don't forget. And when your whole image is built on trying to look real, one wrong move can turn everything fake in an instant. Now all eyes are on King. Does he bounce back and flip the script, or does he become just another casualty in the endless war between privilege and street credibility? Can he rebuild, or has the world already made up its mind about him? Let's hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you're rocking with this breakdown, don't just scroll. Hit that like button, smash subscribe, share this video, and keep it locked right here for the next jaw-dropping story that's gonna shake the culture.